Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Luke may have been beat to the win last week, but by getting himself onto the podium again, he's ensured he remains atop the point standings. Fast names are at the ready to pounce, so it may wind up taking that kind of consistency to bring it home at the end of the season. Let's see what today holds in store as we get ready to watch round 3 of the PRL GT3 Amateur Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Brands Hatch showed us just how tough it is to get right last night with the Pro Series. Let's head to our track guide in case anyone missed Monday's race. Welcome to Brands Hatch. When popular British racing circuits get listed, this track just to the southeast of London often finds itself near the top. The extensive history of the venue has meant that many famous names in racing have ran laps here. But the stats make it sound deceptively simple, with the Grand Prix and Indy course having 9 and 6 turns respectively. Laps might be short, but they're also fast, and the corners are often a challenge to get right. As you'd expect, that means passing is quite difficult, with most drivers leaning towards sending one up the inside at Druids. You might occasionally see overtakes into the first corner, Paddock Hill Bend, but the blind apex and gigantic drop in elevation make that an errand for only the brave. Many of the corner names pay tribute to famous British drivers from the past decades, such as Hill, Surtees, Sterling, and Clark. In fact, the fame extends beyond the drivers, but to the cars as well, with this place seeing everything from Formula 1 to Formula 4, touring cars, GT cars, motorcycles, and even rallycross. It's a gorgeously scenic venue where lush trees envelop the back half of the course, while the front half is mostly encapsulated inside a natural amphitheater. This makes it extremely popular with race fans who can see a majority of the circuit from many seating positions. With a great location near a major metropolitan hub, a spectator-friendly layout, and an experience that challenges drivers, you can see why this place remains abuzz with racing to this day. DJ, we saw last night with these GT3 cars that this is certainly going to be a test for these drivers.
It certainly is, Joe. Brands Hatch is a driver's circuit, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's easy or it's a passing circuit. Now, we were able to see some moves get done down into Druids and a little bit here and there, maybe going into Surtees and around into that first corner of Paddock Hill Bend. But the biggest thing these drivers are going to have to watch out for that we saw some overtakes getting done on last night is running a little bit wide, kicking up a little bit of that grass, and that causing some rear tire spin. The driver in front of you does that. That's the perfect opportunity to attack, and a lot of times that's kind of your only opportunity to attack. So driving around here for the 40 minutes that will be this race, it's all about patience.
It'll take a lot with how many cars are out there. Let's show some patience before we get to the racing, because our broadcast is brought to you by ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SIMMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL GT3 AM series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Now we're 2 rounds in, and the championship underway has seen 2 different winners, Eric Luke being one of them. He is currently ahead of Demers and Antonino, with McLaughlin taking the win last time out, jumping up to 4th, and Trepanier winding up a single point behind after that second round. What about the team's championship?
Well, Joe, it's a little bit more spread out in that team's championship, with NCR Motorsports holding a 17-point lead over Apex Button Box. But Apex has got to watch out in their rearview mirror, because RF Delta Sport only 3 points behind them. A big 28-point gap then back to Parabola Racing Cobalt, with Car Ramrod sitting behind them, only 9 points back.
For today's race, as we mentioned, we are in round 3. And it is another 40-minute event. There's the different makes of cars that they can choose from. However, we don't see any of the Ford or the Lambo here today. And they do have to stick with that car to the end of the season. It is open setup, but they will have to take a stop for fuel at some point during the 40-minute race. They've got an incident limit at 13 for a drive-through penalty, and then beyond that, if they hit 17, they'll actually be fully disqualified before they reach the checkered flag. They have some bonus points, one of which they're trying for right now, including the pole position. And David Flanagan actually holds that at the moment. Provisionally, Liberante half a tenth behind him, another half a tenth down to Eric Luke. And Luke took one of the poles previously. Demers held the other one, so I'm sure Luke would like to notch up another one. We'll see if he can find that little bit of time he needs.
Well, and Joe, you and I were saying before the broadcast how difficult this is going to be for these drivers. 36 cars currently registered right now, all of them trying to get around this Brands Hatch circuit. It is going to be very, very tricky and not a lot of room, especially if a guy runs off in front of you. There is Demers on your screen right now.
So as he comes across, he's well down the order. Maybe he's been having a hard time. Oh, he jumps up to 6 with that one. Maybe he's been having a hard time getting that clear track, as we've been talking about. Kwok Nin, who runs 15th, is not able to go faster. And you can see how much they're all dealing with traffic, as that was Chet Miller with him. Surprisingly, though, all 34 of 36 have set a time. We're waiting on Hotham and Aubrey, which they are not out on track. And I think, yeah, they've ran out of time. If they head out now, they're not going to be able to start a flyer before the clock is done.
And there you see Todd Lewis jumping his way forward. Here comes Desjardins right now. That's going to cross over with the 23.5. That's a better time for him. That'll bump him up the order into 12th place. Here comes Daniel Barnett crossing over the line, able to improve by a couple hundredths of a second, but that's not going to move his time up the board.
Flanagan doesn't improve in the background. We saw him go off, and neither does Liberante, as he unfortunately was not quicker. Almanar also still lacking a fast lap. So we look at Trepanier once again as he comes down to the line, and it looks like that one's going to be well off the pace. So we head towards the 23 rather, and 15th, Morales.
And this is one of the few Mercedes that is out on track. Looks like that was a bit of a warm-up there for Morales. So he's going to try to get it going here. There goes Cervantes. Looks like McLaughlin was able to bump his way up to P2. Cervantes not setting a time that time out. Here comes Kwok Nin again. Got some better clear track in front of him, and that's going to not help him.
Yeah, he's a few tenths off of his quickest. Miller behind him as well. Not able to improve. Spina looks like he was on an outlap that time. Now he gets going on a final flyer. The checkered flag comes out, so Todd Lewis will be our first, running one of the McLarens. Doesn't go any quicker. After that, looks like we've got the car of Antonino, who is in 7th currently.
Yeah, and Liberante was out on a lap earlier. It looks like he had an off track and decided to park it, so he's going to stay 3rd provisionally. Let's see what Antonino can do here, the RF Delta Sport driver. He's going to come to the line on a 22.7. That is a great lap that'll bump him up to 4th.
Last gasp gave him something. And Trepanier is next in the 87. He sits in 6th. Can he go higher than the 3rd row? No, he cannot. After him, Huard down to a 26 flat. That'll put him into 32nd position.
Indeed it will. Here comes McLaughlin, and there goes McLaughlin. He's going to call that lap off, it looks like. I think Cervantes is going to try to cross over the line, better his time. Let's see if he's got anything. Don't think that was a better one for him. Oh, no, it was. Bumps him up to 27th.
And he needed that. He was down in 33rd at the time. I think Kwok Nin looks like he did improve. That'll get him into 11th, a couple positions gained right at the end. Muirhead, and looks like that one wasn't any quicker, but Walker does go faster, and that'll get him 28th. I think that is the last of our drivers.
Yeah, indeed. That's Todd Lewis just getting a little bit more reconnaissance there, I think. And now, Joe, it's just time to grid up and get ready for what I'm sure is going to be a chaotic race here at Brands Hatch.
Well, crossing fingers that they can keep it clean. I mean, you look at the pro race here, the first few laps, even though they had some drivers off, we didn't have anybody really fall out of the race until we had problems with the front runners. One of them wound up sliding into the barrier. So here's hoping that that is a good sign for what's to come with the GT3 AM race round 3 here of the Precision Racing League on a Tuesday night. Let's go through our starting order. It'll be David Flanagan on the pole with Nick McLaughlin in 2nd. Liberante will be P3, and Antonino on the outside of that 2nd row. You've got Eric Luke in 5th, followed by Trepanier, he's 6th. Demers only good enough for 7th today, as Barrett qualifies 8th, Matt Hilton 9th, and Zanadakis rounds out your top 10.
Nin will start off in 11th, followed by Paul Espina and Marc-Andre Desjardins behind him. Jonathan Almanar will be 14th, followed by Lorenzo Marini in 15th, Rodrigo Morales in 16th, and Parker Muirhead in 17th. In 18th, it'll be Todd Lewis, and rounding out the top 20 in row 10, it's going to be Baron Glover and Mark Kalin.
After that, it's Spencer Simkovich in 21st. Neil Alexander starts 22nd. Charles Sumner, great qualifying for him. 23rd position. DeWeese, P24, followed by Hilton in 25th. Then you've got Jason Larson. After that, in 26th, Cervantes did not set a single practice lap, hence why he was struggling a little bit. He'll start all the way back in 27th. Walker is 28th, with Lawson Christie in 29th and Chet Miller in 30th.
In 31st, it's going to be Daniel Barnett, followed by Gary Schilling, with Guillaume Hiard and Chris Bushell lining up behind them. Brian Hotham and Matthew Aubry will make up the back of the field.
Looks like they will be racing today, despite not setting a qualifying time. Just about have everybody out there, so we're getting ready to start on our pace lap. That'll give us some time to look through today's onboards. I believe the first one is Espina today, as we have once again that very cool view with the pedal cam, the wheel cam, and the face cam. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes for him. We also have McGlock here today, as he's got himself just a single camera, not as fancy, but still very valuable for us to get to witness here during the race. And of course, Quoc Nin is joining us for the first time, showing us what it's like from a VR user. So we'll see if he's looking down to the apexes as he gets going. You can see him just adjusting the straps one last time before he has really got to be comfy and set for this 40-minute event, as they're already taking off on the pace lap now. It is pretty cool conditions, much like we saw yesterday, DJ, with the Pro Series.
Yeah, only 69 degrees out on track right now, 21 degrees Celsius. That means that drivers aren't going to really have to worry about tire wear over the course of the race, but they are going to have to be a little bit careful coming through Paddock Hill Bend. I don't think these GT tires are going to be fully up to temperature, so they're going to have to be off the throttle a little bit and be very, very careful.
Coming out of the bowl, up to Surtees here, and then it heads towards the back half of the course into Pilgrim's Drop. We already mentioned that it's an incredibly large field here, 36 drivers taking part around a track that even in these GT3 cars are doing 122s at the fastest. So the laps are going to tick by very, very quickly, and they're likely to catch the back of that field in a hurry. So traffic management could wind up being key, especially around this portion. We saw it come into play here last night as well.
Yeah, we certainly did. Drivers having to be very, very careful as they came up around this series. Obviously known for some pretty good blue flag policies, but nevertheless, it gets very tricky around the tight confines of Brands Hatch.
That's a narrow track out here. You'll really be able to see it when we start to get on board with these cars, and just about get 3 wide, and that's if you dare down the straights. Don't even think about it in most of these corners. They're already out of Sterling, just one more to go. Once they hit Clark, then the pace car is going to dive into the lane, and it'll be up to David Flanagan in that 789 Porsche to decide when he wants to go. There goes our pace car, and he goes immediately. Green flag is out. This catches McLaughlin out quite significantly as Liberante gets to the inside, coming up to Paddock Hill Bend. And as they both brake hard into the corner on those cold tires, Liberante can't quite complete the move. Looks like many behind them are able to get through cleanly, still side by side for second as they hit Druids.
Yeah, everybody able to get through that first corner nice and cleanly. Looks like a little bit of an off track there for McLaughlin. That's him and the Ferrari having a problem.
Oh no, and McLaughlin looks like he's going to have the inside as Antonino is going wide out of Graham Hill Bend. We had a problem in the back with Muirhead and another car I can see off in the background. I also know that Hilton went off course in Paddock Hill Bend. So 3 cars already, unfortunately, leaving the pavement.
Yeah, and some major bumping and banging here. Looks like we're seeing Antonino continuing to fall down. I think Kwok Nin has had it off in the back. Almanar able to get by him as well. Larson losing a place to Cervantes.
Yeah, Antonino got shoved aside by Eric Luke, unfortunately. So that's why he fell down the order. Up at the front, though, Flanagan barely ahead of Liberante. Race certainly looked like he wanted to get by other drivers in a hurry, and maybe this is why. Does he have the pace that he could run away with this?
Well, he could be running a little bit more of a better race trim in this car. We don't quite know yet. As they work their way on the first lap, you can really see the push there coming from Liberante, trying to get that Beamer up ahead of David Flanagan.
McLaughlin still following them. Oh, we got a spin behind them. That's Luke and Trepanier, and they hit each other twice.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
This was a bizarre incident. Each of them just about had it and then lost it. It starts here with Luke. Then Trepanier comes across him, gets tipped. Luke catches it, thinks he's got it. He gets tipped.
Just 1, 2, 3, 4, a case of dominoes there. I'm seeing some other drivers falling down the field right now. Looks like Marini's had a problem. I think Desjardins had a little bit of an off, and he lost a couple of positions.
Oh, and Luke had to come down to pit lane, unfortunately, with that. The other one in there, I think, is Baron Hilton. No, that's Antonino with him. Not sure if that was from the damage with the first lap contact. We'll try and look into that with John. These are our top 3 that we're looking at on track right now. Flanagan, Liberante, McLaughlin, with a massive gap of 2.5 seconds to Demers, and it's only the end of lap 2.
Indeed, and for fans of Charles Sumner and that great livery we always talk about, he has had an off, it looks like, coming up through Hawthorne Bend, so he has fallen back down through the field, and we've had a couple other offs in the back as well.
Seems like this is proving to be a little more difficult for our AM drivers than it was for the pros. Tight racing here for the podium spots, including McLaughlin getting right up to the rear wing of the 34, looking a little racy. But we've said it, and you'll probably hear it many times, it's hard to pass here. If he's going to do it, he'll either have to be aggressive or wait for a mistake.
He will indeed. And remember, this is a bit of a recovery drive for McLaughlin. He had that off on the first lap that he is coming back from. Tucks up behind Liberante right now. Now, these GT3s do have a little bit more downforce, so there is going to be some draft effect that they will be able to get. Oh, but Liberante going for a little bit of a move there in front, trying to make a move on Flanagan.
Had a look at it and then decided against it. He's going to try it again. Coming up into Westfield Bend. That is not a place you can typically pass, but Flanagan gets shaken off the road, falls down to third. McLaughlin and Liberante scream by.
And that may be a little bit of an elbows out move there from Liberante, but I think that falls perfectly within the rule book. He had and was entitled to that racing line. Great heads up play from Liberante, sensing an opportunity and going for it.
I was going to say, he left the door open and he had the speed, so I put that on Flanagan, just going a little bit wide. And he's still in third. He's about 1.5 seconds back, so he's not out of it, but he's going to have to start pushing as the Ferrari of McLaughlin is still right on top of Liberante's BMW.
Indeed, and that Ferrari, I think, would be pretty good to be driving around here, known as one of the better all-around cars, and very, very easy to drive, and it is very, very well if you know how to handle it. We saw a couple of drivers last night talking about how the Audi was really great because it's so nimble, but that Ferrari just good all the way around and always good in the hands of Vic McLaughlin.
Drops back a tenth or two on race, but they've continued to drop Flanagan, who seems to really have much for them now that he has been overtaken. In fact, he's got more threat from behind with Demers, so third place, they change around. You can kind of see them. That blue 256 BMW is getting very, very close.
Yeah, Demers obviously suffering a little bit because of his teammate Trepanier having that incident, but he's putting a good run onto Flanagan here, trying to put maximum pressure to that Porsche. They break here for the left-hander. Coming down through there into Sterling, that is what that is, and working their way around now, going up through Clark. As you said, Joe, they've got about a 2-second gap.
lost a little bit of time, did Demers. He was closer on the back half of the course. We'll see if he can maybe do something with it later on. Maybe he's faster through that portion comparatively.
And let's see what he's got, taking it to the maximum limit there of the track edge. Different lines coming up through Druids. Not surprisingly, we did see that last night as well.
Both of them taking plenty of that runoff through Graham Hill Bend. Oh, and Spencer Simkovich involved in an incident with Trepanier again, who has been having a very bad day. He started from 6th. He was already running just inside the top 20 before. Let's see. Oh, no, and Vincent just was kind of at a bad spot as the car slowly spun in front of him.
Once again, bad luck for Trepanier. He was very quick in practice, was in that top 5 in qualifying. Here we're going to check from the hood of the car. Yeah, you can see Semkowicz just losing it. And Trepanier trying to get on the binders, trying to get that car slowed down, and the combination of contact with Semkowicz and getting up over those curves just sends him spinning around.
Just wasn't enough to it. Ooh, we had a very good move by Espina for 6th place. And this was, I think, into Sterling. Let's take a look at the replay here. I think he just absolutely mugged him into this banked left-hander. Watch this. So there was a move attempt. That slowed up Barrett. And here comes Paul. Tries it once, says, nope, not there. Maybe the second time will work.
Exactly, backs it off, and if that didn't work, I'd call it a dive bomb, Joe. Great move there from Paul Espina.
It was a long ways back. And, are they going to swap around again? Yeah, Barrett's going to get him right back into Surtees as we return to live pictures. And it's a drag race towards Pilgrim's Drop and Hawthorne Bend. Barrett to the outside, or inside rather, and he breaks a little bit earlier. Espina going the long way around, gets back into 6 once more.
Always good to see that battling, and if you do get side by side here at Brands Hatch, that sort of back and forth, not uncommon to see. So Espina is going to be able to pull out a little bit of a gap here. Looks like it's about a half a second, but I don't think Barrett's going away anytime soon.
Holding on, at least for the time being. We're about 10 minutes into this race now. And as close as this is, it's actually closer for the lead currently. Just separated by about 0.3 of a second. So there's a lot of pressure on Liberante, even though he's taken the top spot away.
Yeah, most certainly. Nick McLaughlin just absolutely keeping up that pressure. Remember, this is a little bit of what we saw out of the last race as well. Drivers just kind of hanging back here, waiting for an opportunity. There's still over 30 minutes left to go in this race, so McLaughlin's got speed, but I don't think he's in any rush to get by Liberante.
I wouldn't think this would be a place where you could save all that much fuel. Do you think he could if he just kind of sat behind, or is there not enough long straights?
There's really not that much along straights. The best way to save fuel around here is to do some sort of clutch and coasting, lift and coast, that sort of thing, but you'll lose time if you're doing that. So for McLaughlin, I think this is just a matter of keeping up the pressure and just seeing how long Liberante can keep driving to the absolute limit, knowing that that Ferrari is filling his rearview mirror.
So far, so good. Doesn't seem like he's been fazed too much by the Ferrari just behind him. So we see them coming out of the final corner, back onto the front stretch. Oh boy, Cervantes has had a day. And actually, or wait, no, that wasn't Cervantes I just saw. It was Desjardins, I believe. No, it was, I'll get it right eventually. It was Drew Deweese. They were in a little bit of a battle in the back. It looks like that has settled itself out. I mentioned Cervantes not having practice. He's up from 27th to 14th already. As we keep the cameras here on out of Graham Hill Bend. Still only split by about 0.4 of a second. Flanagan 3 seconds behind them. Now I thought Flanagan would be under some serious pressure from Demers, but it seems like either Alexis can't get by or he didn't have as much speed as it made it seem like compared to the 789 initially.
It may be a little bit of 6 one way, half dozen the other there, Joe, but it doesn't look like Demers is really able to keep up the maximum amount of pressure that we're seeing with McLaughlin here due to your leader. So, yeah, not really sure what the strategy is back there for the 256, but not nearly as terrifying, I think, as the 62.
Love how this battle is just bubbling up here with these two. Nick trying to make it back-to-back and get his second victory of the season. Hopping over here to England. To come up.
As we continue to watch here, Nick McLaughlin working his way, trying to get anything moving a little bit on RaceLab Apps. That gap is just stone solid at 0.5 of a second, moving it down.
McLaughlin's perspective, the Canadian just sticking with it, trying to make sure he doesn't lose touch, that he keeps the pressure on, that if a mistake happens, the 34 will have to pay for it in a position. The other question is, what about the pit stops? Could he try and leapfrog him? Could he try and maybe go one longer and overcut him instead?
Well, Joe, we normally see those overcuts tend to pay off in this series, but as we saw last night, it's a little bit less about how long or how short you can go, and it's more about where you slot yourself out in traffic. And so if you come in on an undercut and you get a relatively clear portion of tarmac in front of you, you may be good to go. But if you go for an overcut, and the flip of that is if you come out in traffic, it may cost you.
2 more tenths behind. He was up to 3 tenths. Now it's back to 6 tenths, actually. Ooh, very close off to the sand there for McLaughlin, taking as much of the track as he can. But he keeps control. That's the important thing. You can see him just looking towards the apexes here as he races on. Oh, we had a problem with Kwok Ninh. Kwok Ninh spins out of 10th place, and I think he's going to lose some spots.
Gathers the car back up under him all the way down to 14th. I think Desjardins about to pass him. Let's watch this replay. I think, Joe, this is the same kind of incident we've seen a couple of times. Just a little bit too much speed carried coming through Paddock Hill Bend. Let's watch it. Indeed, just a little bit too much speed. That car starts to oversteer a little bit, the rear end wanting to step out.
The Porsche, for a car having a lot of that weight back there. It's a vehicle that would make Sir Mix-a-Lot proud. He turns in 14th, so about 4 positions lost from that one spin.
Yeah, and that'll certainly be a hit on his ego. We're going to ride on board with him here. Love getting to see these VR views. You can really see the drivers as they look through the corners here. That's a battle right up ahead of him. That's Cervantes and Kalen going at it. And there you can see Kwok as he eyes it. Ooh, that's Cervantes off.
He's going to catch it, doesn't get the wall, and he winds up falling to 16th because of that. They got a slow car in front of them. Todd Lewis handing over positions to Kalen and Morales, and I'm not sure why. This is a huge gaggle of cars as well, so this is all essentially fighting for, I believe, place.
Yeah, and I think for Lewis, that may have been a result of a slowdown penalty he picked up coming around Westfield Bend, potentially just cutting the course a little bit. Not normally something you see here at Brands Hatch happening a whole lot. Ooh, a little bit of a battle there happening behind. I think that's Nin and Desjardins going at it with DeWeese taking a look as well.
Was indeed. Marc-Andre managed to get himself into 13th and pass Nin with that move. This is not over by any stretch of the imagination. Behind Nin, my goodness, you see DeWeese really close up under braking. So they're going to take it back around to where we think we saw the slowdown penalty a little bit before.
Yeah, and I have to say, it looks like Nin is driving that car to the extremes. Very, very aggressive turn in and exit lines. It looks like he may have a little bit of the red mist, but it's doing him wonders here. Desjardins getting closed in on. Ooh, Nick McLaughlin setting the fastest lap of the race, though.
right up tight behind the rear of Marc-Andre. He doesn't get a good exit. In fact, he might be under attack. Deweese, no, decides to back out of it. So he's safe for now, as long as he gets a good exit off of Clark. And it doesn't look like Nin is far enough ahead, but look in front of him as Marc-Andre attacking on Todd Lewis. Absolutely chucks it into Paddock Hill Bend, and that's going to be another spot into the same corner for the 206.
Wow, Desjardins really on a charge here. Thought Lewis may have a fight back now. I think Kwok Nin smells some blood in the water, but he runs wide there. Is that going to open up an opportunity there for Deweese behind him as they come through Graham Hill Bend? Oh, Deweese smelling some blood in the water, but now it's Nin making the move on Lewis.
Got a better run coming out of Graham Hill Bend, but up to Surtees, it's not long enough of a straightaway. He gets a second bite of the apple. A drag race coming up to Hawthorne, and he's got the inside. And Lewis, once again, backing out. I don't think these are slowdown penalties. I think Todd is just trying to play a safe race here.
You may be right on that one, Joe. Just trying to be a little bit more cautious. And remember that McLaren is known as being a very fidgety car. It is often said on the service that it will kill you if you are not careful. So that may be a little bit of what Todd Lewis is dealing with.
Self-preservation taking over for him. Unfortunately, it's cost him a lot of spots, but you never know. We've seen a lot of spins and a few wrecks so far. In fact, we've already had a few DNFs. Aubrey, Luke, Morini, and Hilton are gone. Luke being perhaps the most significant of those.
Yeah, that's going to be a real hit in the championship. But we continue to watch this battle. Oh, Todd Lewis coming into the pits. He is our first stopper.
It's already halfway. We've had so much action happening. We have lost a lot of time in this race. So apparently he's going to try to cut it in half, hoping that that'll be the quickest method. Not really. Is anybody else? Bochelle, maybe? Lewis with a decent stop, 15 seconds, and he's going to return now. Now, this is a tricky re-entry on this course, right into the blind Paddock Hill Bend.
It is not easy to get right. Drivers have to be very, very careful of traffic coming up and around them. It's also a very, very quick pit lane. Not a whole lot of time. Cone to cone, Lewis, for example, 31 seconds.
That's good news if you want to make a stop, that you won't lose all that much in the process. McLaughlin with another fastest lap, and our leaders are beginning to catch the tail end of the field. Let's see how well they play, because Chet Miller is the first. Oh no! Miller just got hit. The 31 just got shoved off track by McLaughlin. How much damage is on the 62 because of that?
He's definitely got a little bit of a crumpled nose. Let's jump back to check the replay here. I think this was just a bit of miscommunication between the two drivers. This is Miller in that Mercedes as they come up here through Surtees. Now, this is going to happen when they get down, or into Druids, rather, when they get down into Graham Hill Bend. There you see McLaughlin, I think, just didn't anticipate him staying out on that high line and just ran into the back of him.
Yeah, he was trying to do the right thing, and unfortunately, it cost Nick McLaughlin a bit. That's the back of and front of Miller, both very, very out of shape. What about the 62's car?
Well, I've definitely seen some front-end damage. Yeah, there you can see it, that nose very crumpled. Didn't lose all that much time, though. He still only took 0.6 of a second by. But we have had some more stoppers. Neil Alexander, Brian Hotham both coming in.
In fact, Neil just came out. He'll be the next to get lapped by our leaders if they can catch him before their pit stops. And then it's a ways up to Huard. So hopefully they won't have too many more drivers to deal with going past in these next few laps. Yeah, McLaughlin seems okay. Doesn't look like he's dropping time despite having just crinkled the nose of his Ferrari the tiniest bit. Got a great battle happening back in 7th. Espina, Almanar, and Hilton, that's Matt Hilton, all together.
That's Espina leading them off in that Ferrari. Almanar in the Ferrari behind him, and Hilton in the BMW. There you can see that Beamer just poking its nose around.
So we watch on board with Espina. Let's see Let's see what his brake, throttle, and steering looks like.
Oh, I love seeing that pedal cam, Joe. You can see just how fine he has to be with those inputs. A lot of feathering on the brakes. It's a lot of sort of brush braking and feeling what the corner is going to be doing instead of just stamping on the brakes and getting into it. A lot of trail braking is needed around here. Espina doing a great job of that.
You can see the overlap between the two of them, so absolutely pushing. And he took a little bit of a look over his shoulder, trying to see whether Almanar is catching, but the answer for now is no. He's got him at a half-second behind.
Indeed, he is. He's able to hold that off, and I think Almanar's having to drive a little bit in his rear-view mirror with Hilton starting to poke his nose around. Oh, but that's a little bit of a wide run there for Espina. Could this be a chance for Almanar to make a move?
Whoa, my goodness, sends it in. Almanar takes it with gusto. That'll put him into 7th place. Now, those two are teammates, so I wonder if he kind of let him have that one a little bit. And he's already being challenged by Matt Hilton, too.
Go back and check out the replay on this, Joe, because it was absolutely incredible, as you said. So there you see Espina just missed that apex. I think he may have missed his braking zone ever so slightly. Comes in there, and Almanar just sends it up the middle.
Now, that seemed a little early, so I kind of think that he's just helping his teammate when he saw him show his nose. And he didn't want to fight it too hard lest they let Matt Hilton by. Spencer Semkovic is also in. Got a few more that have taken pit stops now. But we're getting close to the end of that window. Once we reach 10 minutes to go, you can expect pretty much everybody to have stopped for fuel.
Yeah, indeed. And Liberante McLaughlin continuing around here at this point. There you can see McLaughlin's losing some time here, Joe. He's now got that gap up to about 1.3 seconds, does Liberante.
And look at the comparison on their best laps. Oh my goodness. It is down to the 1,000th, and I'm not sure who's got it because we don't have that on at least my time in scoring. We'll find out post-race because iRacing does track that, but it's not telling me which one holds it right now.
I think it may be Liberante. I've got a secondary software that says it's raced by that 1,000th of a second, but I'm not sure where that rounding comes in, so don't quote me on that one, Joe.
Okay. iRacing gets the final say. It's within the sim that tells us who gets that bonus point. That's why that is important, especially with these two running up at the front, and McLaughlin probably thinking championship. So it's much farther apart, though, now. Is McLaughlin losing pace? Is the damage on the front hurting him a little more than we anticipated? Maybe this is a long-term issue with the car.
It may be, but I don't think he would have lost all that much time. Their last laps are pretty similar, only about a 10th difference in between the two and a little bit of traffic coming into that. Normally when we see that kind of damage on the front of the car, we can expect either some suspension damage or a little bit of aerodynamic problems that would cost him down a long straightaway. Well, Brands Hatch doesn't have a long straightaway, and if there was some suspension damage on that car, I have to imagine the gap would be a lot larger.
Behind them, they've still got about 9 seconds over Flanagan, who's also dealing with the same traffic. He just got by Neil Alexander as well. But the traffic has played well with him in the sense that Demers is no longer threatening him. So David, despite, as we ride on board with McLaughlin, now going by traffic of his own. That was Huard, just staying out of the way, and off the track goes McLaughlin. Manages to pull it back on. No damage done, not too much drama, but I'm sure that certainly gave him a scare.
Certainly did. And Joe, to that point earlier about suspension damage, look at when he gets onto the straightaway here. That wheel is straight, so there's no counter steering he's having to put into it. I think if he's got any damage at all to that car, it is just some minor aerodynamic.
That last lap, though, cost him about a second, putting the wheels off. Once again, traffic does have a part in this battle, even if it doesn't cause contact or a spin or a wreck. He had a little bit of an off. And that one moment sent him backwards. So Espina got overtaken by Almanar, and he's starting to run away as Matt Hilton continues to pressure him. They also go by a lapped car. That's Simkovic back out on track after his problems earlier on.
Yeah, and so that did cost him a little bit of time there. Looks like Drew DeWeese has popped into the pits at this point in the race. Hilton doing a good job to keep this close, though.
Cervantes, I also see coming into the pits, so a few more beginning to trickle in. And is Hilton missing a nose?
Yes, he is.
Noticed this. Yeah.
Yeah, he's missing that whole front side of it.
And when he did that, he's going fairly quickly for having missing that much body work. So it doesn't seem to be harming him too much without that splitter, except maybe through there as he falls back somewhat, and Espina catches up to Almanar as well.
Yeah, I was going to say with that, he may be just losing a little bit of front end grip. He may have to be overcompensating a little bit by trail braking or maybe using the throttle to come in as Almanar now dives into the pits.
And off goes, was that Espina?
Yes, it was.
Wow, so 2 cars clear the way for Hilton, and Matt now jumps up to 7th. Now, one of them was a pit stop, of course, so Almanar might come back out ahead of the 4, but he's got clear track to try and take advantage of things. Well, I thought he did, and now he's got lap traffic in the form of Drew DeWeese, who just took his pit stop.
And that's exactly what I was talking about, Joe. That ability to get out ahead of lapped traffic is going to be mega for these drivers when they come in and out. Hilton now has just got to focus on putting in the fastest laps that he can right now.
Yay, pits. Highest driver to have pitted right now is Almanar. So take a look at Flanagan. The Porsche being chased by the BMW of Demers just behind him. Charles Sumner also pitting. Our leaders
are coming in right now.
Good timing. So that is going to set a few people free of worrying, not having to be lapped by them. As we watch Almanar, who's, as mentioned, is our highest pitter, but he wasn't anywhere near to our 2 leaders. Liberante having pulled himself a little bit of a gap, that might wind up being crucial. Yes, indeed, it does, because McLaughlin, who's got a very slow stop, has he got a penalty here? It's still going. This does not bode well for the 62.
That could either be a penalty, Joe, or it could be some mandatory repairs that he's got to get done on the car. One of the two, but either way, this is almost race ending for Nick McLaughlin.
Oh, it's got to be a penalty. He must have sped on pit entry. It can't be a meatball flag because he would have had to have served that within 3 laps of getting it, and it would have come out immediately if it was due to that damage with his contact. So this promotes Flanagan to the lead temporarily, but probably to second once he takes his pit stop.
I can confirm for Nick McLaughlin, it was a speeding penalty. He crossed over the yellow cones and revved the throttle up. I think he missed where the pit entry was.
Oh, no. Battery just didn't have his finger on the button well enough and didn't get his pit limiter on. Well then, so Flanagan and Demers also pitting in with 10 minutes to go. Still looking for Espina, Nin, Glover, and Desjardins to get fuel and get on their way.
Ooh, and Espina got held up coming into the pits. Gary Schilling right ahead of him, a lapped car with some damage. He had to check up coming down pit lane.
Liberante is passed. Flanagan still taking service. Oh, but that's Demers. Demers jumped him in the pit lane. Alexis, who has been waiting so patiently all race long, now has P2.
Oi, 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 and that was to the tune of about 0.8 of a second. That's how he got it done. Great pit stop there for Alexis Demers.
I mean, on your screen. Well, wow, that was unexpected. I kind of wondered when I was saying Flanagan should come out in second. I thought to myself, I hope that's not a commentator's curse, and lo and behold, go figure. He's got 10 more minutes, though, to get it back.
Yeah, and we're just getting news, by the way, that it looks like for McLaughlin, his pit speed limiter did not engage, and so it looks like some sort of technical failure on behalf of the 62.
Bust out the button box, I think. So sad to see that it came down to that. Where did he wind up, actually? 9th place, it appears. So, wow. And he is faster than those around him right now, although he's just looking to lap a car. That's Larson and the Jägermeister BMW, just letting him through. Next one up the road is Kwok Nin, about 2.5 seconds ahead of him.
Well, and McLaughlin does have a faster lap than Kwok Nin. I think he's got more space, or more speed in that Ferrari, but we'll have to see with that damage if he is able to catch.
You can see them having to pick their way past more and more traffic. And ahead of them, or actually no, behind them, no, Morales lost time. I was going to say Morales was chasing, and it looks like he's lost touch. Other than that, oh, well, Danny Cervantes has got another fight on his hands. Matt Hilton is now right up behind him.
Yeah, and that's the lap car of John Antonino behind them. This is Hilton trying to close down. They got very, very close to each other coming through Surtees, but we're able to keep everything going here. Looks like Hilton lost a little bit of time coming around Clark Curve. I'll have to try to catch it up here going down through Paddock Hill.
This has become our closest battle on the track. Those up in front of them have spread apart. So Hilton's sizing up Danny. Again, still a great day for him considering, because he started in 27th. He's up to 13th. He's got to at least be pleased with that, though I would like to know if he felt like he had more in the car, as the noseless Matt Hilton stalks him, thought about it into Surtees, thought better, and now he's going to give another go here, maybe over Pilgrim's Drop. No, he's pretty far back.
Yeah, he is indeed. He's not really going to be able to get it done. He's just got to keep the pressure up here on Cervantes the best he can.
Let's keep the cameras here, but interesting to note, the other thing this has done with the penalty for McLaughlin is that Liberante has nobody to challenge him now. Demers, remember, was pretty far back along with Flanagan, so it's about 9 seconds from P1 to P2. Basically just has to keep this one together to the end. And Antonino is looking a little bit frustrated. He looks like he's got better speed. He did start in 4th. He was one of the victims of the early wrecks in this race, and I think he's just trying to come home and collect some points down to the inside. Here goes Hilton. Oh no! Sideswiping the car of Cervantes. Maybe a little bit of a late move there from the 25. They both come out the other side, but it was sketchy.
It was indeed, and that was all set up by a little bit of a twitch of oversteer coming through Clark Curve. We've talked about the heavy rear end of those Porsches, and it looked like it came to bite Cervantes there, and Hilton just saw it and pounced.
Matt Hilton is on a mission. He started 9th. He's only now up to 13th with that move, wanting to make up for things. DeWeese just had an off, don't need to go there, but the 523 spun himself through Paddock Hill Bend. He'll get it going once more. The 25 is still eager to get this one back. He is riding all over the gearbox of that 4 car.
Yeah, he's not letting this go quietly, Joe. Good top-line speed there from the Porsche as they make their way up and around Hawthorne.
Oh, mistake.
Oh!
That's a mistake from Hilton. And Cervantes is easily going to get it back once again. So they swap positions.
And there it is again. Let's see if he's able to get a run here as Matt Hilton. He looks very far back as they make their way around Clark. Clock ticking down, just under 5 minutes to go.
Kind of surprised Antonino hasn't either asked to go by or just slow up his pace so he's not riding right behind these guys. Might be making them a little bit nervous as Hilton misses the apex and then some around Druids.
Yeah, it almost looked like he was trying to make a pass around the outside, not exactly making it work. Hilton maybe overdriving that car a little bit. You see just how wide he got on the exit of Graham Hill. Now makes his way up through Surtees. This is where he's been...
Sorry, we need a replay of Liberante. He had a problem. The gap is down by about 4 seconds. You'll see him come up to to Neil Alexander and actually make big contact through Sterling. This is just before this, maybe about 15 more seconds back.
Yeah, there's Liberante right there. Oh no, an unsafe release, and that clips him and sends Liberante into the wall. Joe, that is massive damage to the front of that car. The whole hood is torn off.
So last lap rather, was a 1:28.3, but that was because of the hit that he took. Demers has it down to 3.8 seconds. This could be close. He might have the pace, but we only really will know this time by when we see what he can do on his own.
Indeed, riding as we continue to watch Liberante here. I'm keeping an eye on the steering. Looks like the suspension's relatively straight. Gap moving up again towards 4 seconds.
For reference, Demers running laps of about 23.8, 23.7. He had a 24.4. I think that was with lap traffic catching him out. Only a couple more laps that he has to limp this thing home, as Liberante this time by 24.3. Demers with a 24 flat. So it was faster, but not by a lot, and he's being held up. He's trying to get by Alexander, who had the contact with Liberante, and then Simkovic is the next one up the road.
Exactly, and this has got to be super frustrating to Demers. There he's able to get by Simkovic right there going down the hill towards Graham Hill Bend. He's now got it all to play for here. He's got a relatively clear track ahead of him. Just the 29th place car of Chet Miller now in between him and the leader.
Thing is, if he runs those 23.7s, it'll be close, but that won't be enough laps left for him to do it. He's going to have to hope either for some traffic or more issues with the way that car drives in those last few laps. Remember, that BMW is front engine. He hit it very hard. Hopefully the temperatures are not going up, because you can blow it after a big thwack.
Yeah, you certainly can. He'll have to be very, very careful to watch out for that. Rest assured, he'll be thinking about that the entire way around the lap. The gap is growing, though. That big hold up from Simkovic has cost Demers about 0.5 of a second.
Who would have imagined that one? A wild twist here at the end of round 3 in the Precision Racing League GT3 AM series. Not white flag, 2 laps to go. So there is still time for things to change up at the front. Last lap was a 23.5. Okay, Liberante's got this thing back where he wants it. Was maybe feeling it out the first lap back, and well, I'd say no harm, no foul for the 34.
No, none at all. But focusing back on one of our other former leaders, Kwok Nin getting passed right now by Nick McLaughlin going down the main straightaway.
Recovery drive for the 62. He gets inside of Nin. And job is done. Nin makes a little bit of a slide. There is, we watch the onboard of McLaughlin now.
Calm, cool, and collected is Nick McLaughlin. See just how much force feedback he's putting into that wheel. Oy, oy, oy.
Well, I think it's glitching on our end, actually, because I don't think he's continually steering off to the right. But thankfully, that's not the case. He's up to 8th now with that one.
Yeah, that'd be a very painful way to drive if that was the case there, Joe. Ticking down here, under 30 seconds left to go in this race. Our leader is just now crossing the start-finish line, so I believe that is the white flag for Race Liberante.
It is indeed. If it makes you feel better, when I looked at it at first, I thought, oh, he's got suspension damage. But so we were both fooled by the weird goings-on of the onboard camera. It's still tight for 3rd. Flanagan, who lost that 2nd place, might not finish on the podium. Zanadakis is running him down, and so is Brett Barrett.
Ooh, this could get very, very close. They've got some lap traffic ahead of them in the form of Spencer Simkovic. This is a 3-way battle here. Simkovic is going to have to be careful and make sure he knows where he is, or this could change the podium.
What happened to Flanagan's race pace? Not only did he lose the lead, he lost his second position in the pit stops and now just might not be able to stand atop the podium here. If Zanidakis has something eager in this last half of the lap, he could overtake him, but it's gonna be difficult. Takes a little bit of a look, then comes back to the racing line. Now through Dingledell. Does he dare into Sheen or Sterling?
And remember, Zanidakis is one of the more aggressive drivers in this series. If anybody's going to make a move, it'll be him.
Out of Sterling, we're going to have to leave them because Liberante is coming around to finally take his first win of the season. 3 different winners in the GT AM series, with the third being Race Liberante. Demers follows him home, only 3.5 seconds back in second. Flanagan barely going to survive by only 0.2 over Zanidakis, as Barrett also gets himself a top 5. How about Nikos coming up from 10th for that 4th place?
Yeah, very, very impressive drive for him. This is Baron Glover, though, being chased down by Marc-Andre Desjardins. This is for 11th place.
Yeah, as Mark is only up 1 spot, whereas Glover is up 8. It's so tough to try and get by people. All he has to do is stay calm. Covers off the inside temporarily. Marc-Andre thinks about it, then back to the racing line. Could get the over-under as it's a big run up to the finish. He's got momentum, but not enough of it. So it's going to go to Glover at the line. We've only got 17 drivers left on the lead lap. Last of them is Lawson Christie, who doesn't appear to be in a battle currently. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Brands Hatch, round 3 of the Precision Racing League. GT3 AM Series has gone to Race Liberante. From third on the grid up to the victory, he was aggressive at the start in a very controlled way. Once he got to that front, it didn't seem that anybody was going to overtake him. Demers was second after he out-strategized his rivals, and Flanagan wound up third despite being on pole, but he will get that bonus point for the pole position. Zanadakis was in fourth with Brett Barrett finishing P5. Espina was sixth as Almanar wound up in seventh. Nick McLaughlin, unfortunately, a penalty due to an error with his pit limiter. It wound up sending him to eighth in the end, with Kwok Nin in ninth, and Morales rounds out your top 10.
In 11th, it was Baron Glover, followed by Marc-Andre Desjardins. Danny Cervantes, one of the biggest movers of the race, up 14 positions to come home 13th, followed by Todd Lewis in 14th and Matt Hilton to round out your top 15. Charles Sumner recovered from an early spin off track to be 16th, followed by Lawson Christie in 17th, with Neil Alexander one lap down in 18th, and Spencer Semkowicz and Vincent Trepanier rounding out your top 20.
This is one for Trepanier to forget as DeWeese finishes 21st, Hotham in 22nd. Huard up from 33rd without a qualifying time up to 23rd as Bochelle takes 24th. We're getting into cars 2 laps down now. Larson 25th, and then you're into the DNFs with Walker, Muirhead, Barnett, or at least drivers that had to get a lot of repairs before they were able to return to the track. We have our winner ready to talk to us. Race finally up at the top step of the podium. Congratulations. It looked like, though, you were on a mission at the start to try and get yourself to the front. Did you know, was it that because you knew that it'd be so hard to try and pass here?
Yeah, I honestly, I didn't get much practice in. I got probably 20-30 minutes before I hopped on this to run. So I honestly didn't even know where I'd stack up, and I don't know if you guys saw practice, but I could barely get around the racetrack, and qualified okay, but I knew I had to be aggressive on the start. It was one of those things where I've had so many bad days, I guess, already, that I just wanted to see if I can get out front and set my own pace. I knew if I could run my pace, I could be consistent, and see if anybody could hang. And Nick kept me really honest throughout the most of the race. I thought he was just sitting back there saving fuel, and I was kind of doing the same. But after pit stops, I don't really know what happened to him, and yeah, I was able to walk away with it, other than almost getting wrecked by a lapper with like 5 to go. But yeah, it was fun.
We talked a little bit about that fuel saving, wondering where the drivers can do it. Was there any particular place that you found that was most effective for that?
Honestly, through the whole back section, I just laid off the brake pedal and let it coast into the corner, kept the rear end stable underneath me, and it ended up working out pretty well. I would only lose about 1/10 in each of the corners instead of applying too much brake pressure, so it worked out well. The Delta Sport BMW was really fast. I thank the team for an amazing setup, and Race Factory, Get Stuck, Extreme SimRacing, and the rest of the sponsors for everything they do for us.
Great stuff there. Next race, though, we've got the British Vacation continuing with Snetterton. Have you done much racing there? It doesn't usually show up on many schedules.
I've honestly never raced there. I don't even own the track, so that's the first thing I'm doing after I get off here. I'm going to go buy that and run some laps and go from there.
All right, well, have fun with that. Congratulations, Race.
All right, thank you guys for the host and all the PRL sponsors, and we'll see you at the next one.
That was Race Liberante, our winner here today. Up next, we've got 9th place finisher Kwok Nin, and DJ's caught up with him.
Well, Kwok, that looked like a pretty crazy race for you all the way around. It seems like every time we looked up, you were in a battle.
Yeah, like anytime, especially the first half of the race, it was very hectic. I haven't been able to race that track with a whole bunch of cars on it. I was only able to race in practice, so it was a lot of stress for me to race with all those cars around me.
And we saw you having a little bit of a skid there at one point, I believe. How did you find the rear engine, heavier rear weight of the Porsche around a track like this that is notorious for drawing up some oversteer?
You really, with the engine being in the back, you have to really play with the brake and the gas to balance the car. if you don't, it's very easy to spin out or get an oversteer.
Well, copy that. I'm going to be writing that down and seeing if I can maybe steal that bit of advice from you. We head to another British circuit. We just heard our race winner, RaceLab Apps, said he really didn't know it all that well. How well do you know Snetterton?
I don't think I ever raced on that track, so it's probably going to be a challenge. Probably a lot of practice throughout the week.
Well, I'm sensing a bit of a trend here. Quack, congratulations here on this top 10. Who'd you like to thank for this?
I'd like to thank my team, you guys, and PRL for hosting the race.
Well, thank you so much. That was your 9th place finisher, Quack Nin. Joe?
That's the last of our interviews tonight. Unfortunately, didn't get many of our podium runners on there tonight, sadly. So we'll see if we can bring them in later. Until then, let's thank our sponsors, including ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com. And RaceLab. It helps you improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at RaceLab.app. As well as ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebutkicker.com. And SimMSA. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net. And finally, NinjaTrader. Visit ninjatrader.com and get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on your screen, and additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp there that we've listed in case you want more of her work. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment, because the next week's race will be at Snetterton, Tuesday, July 13th at 9 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on your screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar, including, in just a few hours' time, Flying Husky Racing is back with their new season at the Red Bull Ring at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.